country with some goofiness. So sometimes I start out these programs with a few of my favorite goofy actual country song titles from Nashville songwriters. Who here is from outside of Nashville today? Okay, cool. So these are some actual country song titles written a while back. I hope I don't screw these up because I am not a comedian. I'm so miserable without you, it's like having you here. Or my wife ran off with my best friend, and I sure do miss him. And one of my favorites, how do I kiss the lips at night that chew my ass out all day long? Those are actual country song titles. So what does this mean for startup organizations today? What does songwriting have to do with you? Well, like we discussed, putting together a team where everybody actually knows how to listen actively, collaborate actively, and putting your team in position, if you're a startup, and especially this is important, where the skill sets really complement each other with minimal overlap. We need a little bit of overlap when people are working together in a small startup situation, but we want clear role delineation, just like these songwriting teams in New York City. They had clear role delineation. One was the musician, one was the wordsmith. About 6 months ago, I was blessed enough to run into another songwriter here in town who also had a social work background, a friend of mine, Jenny Dominelli, and she founded a really cool organization here, a nonprofit called The Beat of Life. Now, The Beat of Life is the only locally based nonprofit which is using songwriting as a tool to heal underserved populations. For example, their first program, actually I should say our first program, because I'm a part of the team now. Our first program was a few weeks ago. It was called Songwriters for Soldiers, and we paired up hit songwriters from Nashville with soldiers and their families who are battling through PTSD to write songs telling the soldiers' stories, and those songs became healing tools for these soldiers, some of whom hadn't laughed or smiled for years since being back stateside. And we're already hearing anecdotal feedback from some of their social workers saying, this particular soldier, he laughed and cracked a joke for the first time in 3 years since this retreat. And there's other programs coming up with the prisons and some other really neat things with the school systems. But the cool thing for me, from a team perspective, with the Beat of Life, is this. I've been involved with a core team of 4 staffers. Well, we're all volunteers at this point, but we are staffers. And we share a mission, which is very important when you're a team. But I've been able to watch the growth and the coalescence of a startup from the ground up. And it's cool, because what I'm seeing is how we are evolving our communication skills on the fly, how we are evolving our role delineations as we go project to project. We all have some overlapping strengths, but it's too easy to start stepping on each other's toes when you're working in an intimate situation if you're not constantly refining the roles of each team member and communicating almost over the top too much. There's never too much communication in these situations. From a technical standpoint, I'll tell you this. We're still struggling to figure out which CRM to use. Does everyone here know what a CRM is? Probably? That's good. What is this? No, just kidding. No, I think we've decided on one called Asana for the time being, but we've been struggling with Insightly and Nutly and all these other weird CRMs because without great contact management databases and project management databases, we're all just sending these endless streams of emails. And it is mind-boggling how fast we can lose track of those. Now, whether you're a hater or an imitator, all of us can acknowledge that Steve Jobs and Apple changed the world with their products. They did. Now, whether or not you've moved on to Android systems or whatnot, that's fine. Those are all imitations. Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery, they say. Steve Jobs was a tyrant in the boardroom. But one thing he did when he left Apple for the first time and went to Pixar Studios to turn that movie house around and then back to Apple, when he basically helped create the Apple we know today, and the iPhones and the iPads, etc., was both of these companies were growing so fast at those points in time that they needed to design new corporate headquarters, new campuses. And these campuses needed to be something different than the old school headquarters that these companies used to habitate. So he designed headquarters that purposefully accentuated opportunities for accidental collaborations. And what I mean is this. He wanted to make sure that in these companies, people who never typically spoke to each other would have to run into each other. He wanted to make sure that someone from graphic design would run into someone from accounts payable. Someone from engineering would run into someone who answered phones. He wanted accidental cross-pollination of ideas so that if Daniel had an idea for a problem I had, he might share it with me at the water cooler, but if Daniel and I typically worked in different silos that never communicated because typically we didn't have anything to do with each other, I might never find that solution. When he designed the Pixar and later the Apple Studios, or the Apple headquarters the second time around, this was a major focus of his, creating accidental pollination of ideas, cross-pollination, and hoping for creative solutions and new product ideas. Now, I like to say that Wolfpacks really have the organizational structure that you all need and I need down pat. If you ever read a book on Wolfpacks, they have a organizational structure that's really, really cool. They know their roles and they accentuate their strengths. There's a mama and papa wolf. They are the alpha, and they are alpha male and alpha female. And they run the pack. And their role is to make sure that everyone stays in line and does their jobs. Now, there's also guard wolves or sentinels. These are the ones who are the best at keeping the perimeter of the camp safe. This is a strength that they've come to be acknowledged for over the course of time, their course of time on the team or in the company or in the pack. There's also hunters and gatherers. There is also a babysitter in every wolf pack. There's a built-in babysitter. Mama and Papa Wolf have had their litter of puppies, and they've been in the den for a month or so, and they need to get out on a date. It's date night, and they've put off date night for a month, and man, are they chomping at the bit to get out. And so they need a babysitter. Well, they ask around, they can't find anyone. They put out some tweets and some Facebook messages, no one's responding. And then realize, well, wait a second, there's Hilda over here. Hilda is a wolf who likely is not having any more litters of puppies at this point in time, but is known to have great mothering skills. So she will be assigned as the babysitter of the wolf pack. That's her role. Wolf packs operate very efficiently because of this. Has anyone here seen the old 80s movie with Harrison Ford and Kelly McGillis, Witness, over the years? Mm-hmm. Witness, Beth, you've seen it? You've seen it? Great movie. I won't get into the details, but it features a lot in this movie about the Amish culture. Is anyone here familiar with Amish culture at all? Yeah, okay. The Amish are really, really neat people in a lot of ways, but one of the coolest things about the Amish, and that really gets me juiced, I'm kind of a geek this way, one of the coolest things is they know how to work as a team probably better than any organization out there, probably better than Google and Apple even. If the head of an Amish community calls the team together on a Monday morning and says, the Smiths down the road, their barn burned down last week, and winter's coming, and they need a barn, and they need it built, and they need it raised, and they need it now. The entire community drops everything they're doing. Everything. And within 24 to 36 hours, using little to no modern technology, they will have raised a barn. And they'll have done this because they are so organized and efficient in their role delineation. The people who saw well, they're sawing. The people who hammer well, they're hammering. The people who are strong enough to really help move all the heavy lumber, that's what they're doing. And they're doing this with little to no modern technology. Can you think of any company you've ever worked for that could drop everything and build a barn in a day? I don't. I don't think the folks at Google or at Apple could, as much as they're amazing and have changed the world. Think about that. One day. Think about what you would do if you went into work, whatever situation you've been in the past, which was maybe a more traditional work situation than you find yourself in now, because I know that we're mostly bloggers and social entrepreneurs and startups, et cetera, but most of us have worked in a traditional setting at some point. What would you have done on Monday morning with all those emails, texts, Facebook messages, tweets to answer, and all the tasks you had in front of you if your boss said, hold up guys, I know it's 9 a.m. Monday morning, we've got a lot going on, but we're going to go out to a field an hour outside of town, and we have to build a barn, and it needs to be done by this time tomorrow. You guys would have thought he was insane. Or there was some punchline or joke or camera hidden in the wall. Typically when we work on these programs, we get everyone together and we write a song together. We're not going to do that today. What I would like to do is share with you, if I can, I don't know anyone who's good with Macs. Anyone in this room good with Macs? I can figure out why my screen is frozen here. I have a Word document up and it's